Welcome to House of Horrors. Tonight, we take you to a lonely stretch of New Mexico highway, where one tired traveler stops at a small, forgotten motel, hoping for rest. But the Midnight Inn has a secret, and once you check in, some doors should never be opened. Stay with us, if you dare. Some places promise rest. Some places promise safety. This one promised neither. What happened at the Midnight Inn in New Mexico is something I'll never forget, and I don't think I ever want to return. Trapped at the Midnight Inn, New Mexico Motel. I had been driving all day across northern New Mexico. The sun had long set behind the mesas, and the wind from the desert had picked up, whipping sand and small rocks across the highway. My plan was simple: reach Santa Fe, check into a cheap motel, and sleep. Nothing fancy, just a bed and 4 walls for the night. The GPS glitched somewhere near a small junction off Route 14, and that's when I saw it, a small neon sign flickering weakly in the night. Midnight Inn, vacancy. The building itself looked like it had been built in the late 70s. Long, low structure. Faded stucco. A few windows with blinds hanging crookedly. The parking lot had 3 cars, but they were all old models, rusted and half buried in dust. I pulled in. The door rattled when I pushed it open. Inside, the lobby was dimly lit. One ceiling light buzzed, struggling to stay on. Behind the counter was a man in his 70s, hunched over a ledger, dozing. He looked up slowly as I approached. "Room?" I asked. He didn't respond for a few seconds, just stared. Then nodded. "Number 9. Keys in the slot. Pay on the way out." I noticed there were no other guests. No sounds except the heater humming weakly and the faint ticking of a wall clock. I took the key, noticing the metal felt unusually cold. The room smelled of dust and old smoke. The bedspread was worn, faded. Nothing about it screamed haunted. Just tired. Like the building itself had been waiting. I unpacked my things and turned on the TV. Static. Not even a local channel. I shrugged. It didn't matter. I'd been driving for almost 12 hours, sleep was my priority. Around 11:30 p.m., I was awakened by a noise. Soft, dragging footsteps coming from the hall outside my room. Slow, methodical. Not hurried, not panicked. I froze. The lock on the door was still engaged. I held my breath. The footsteps stopped for a moment, then resumed, pacing the length of the corridor. I called out, "Hello?" Nothing. I waited. Heart pounding. My mind tried to rationalize it, another guest, maybe someone who had checked in late. But the motel was empty. I knew it. Suddenly, I heard it, a clicking sound, like fingernails against the wooden frame of the door. 3 quick taps, then silence. I gripped my phone. No signal. Typical for rural motels. I tried turning on the bedside lamp. The bulb flickered once, then steadied. When I looked toward the door, I noticed shadows moving along the walls, stretching and bending in ways the lamp shouldn't have caused. I told myself it was my imagination. Long day. Fatigue. But then came the whisper, faint, from the hallway. "Room 9. I sat frozen. The voice was hoarse, slow, almost pleading. I considered leaving. But the door was stuck. The handle wouldn't budge. The lock wouldn't turn. It was as if the metal itself had seized, trapping me inside. I walked toward the window. It overlooked the parking lot. Moonlight illuminated the ground outside. Nothing unusual. But then I noticed footprints in the dirt, leading toward the building. Bare feet. Oddly large. Too long for a man, too narrow for a woman. And they stopped at the edge of the porch. I grabbed the TV remote and smashed the power button. Static exploded across the screen. Then came another whisper. Clearer this time. "Leave, before it's too late." I ran to the door again. Nothing. The knob was frozen in place. I was trapped. Minutes passed. Maybe hours. I don't know. Time lost meaning. Then, movement in the corner of the room. My dresser. Nothing should have been there. But a shadow detached itself from the wall, tall, thin, and blurred at the edges. It didn't have feet. It didn't walk. It drifted silently, hovering above the carpet. I tried to back away. Tripped over my suitcase. The shadow moved closer. No sound, no wind, just a presence pressing into my chest. I could feel it. Heavy, cold, suffocating. I screamed. Nothing happened. My voice was swallowed. The shadow stopped. The whisper returned. You shouldn't be here. Desperation took over. I grabbed a chair, smashed it against the door. The lock rattled. The doorknob turned. I ran into the hall. Empty. Quiet. The air smelled like old dust and sulfur. The hallway stretched endlessly, longer than it should have been. Room numbers I hadn't seen before lined the walls, 12, 14, 19, numbers that didn't exist on the floor plan. And then I saw her. A woman in a faded dress. Hair hanging over her face. Standing perfectly still at the far end of the corridor. Bare feet. She didn't move. She didn't blink. She simply watched. I tried to speak. My voice cracked. She didn't respond. But I felt it, the weight of her gaze, pressing into my skull. I ran. Down the stairs. Through the lobby. The old man at the desk was gone. Papers scattered. The neon sign outside flickered more violently than before. I jumped into my car. The engine refused to start. The lights dimmed. Then, from the lot, I saw shadows moving between the abandoned vehicles. Shapes tall and thin, almost inhuman. They didn't run. They didn't chase. They just waited. Finally, the car roared to life. I drove away without looking back. The building disappeared behind a bend in the road. But the feeling stayed. The presence. Watching. Waiting. I later checked records. The motel had been closed for over 20 years. There were reports, missing travelers, unexplained noises, occasional glimpses of figures through windows. But nothing official. The property was considered abandoned. Unsafe. I don't go near Route 14 anymore. Not at night. Not alone. And I never, ever drive past motels off desolate highways without researching them first. Sometimes, in hotel rooms in Albuquerque or Santa Fe, I feel it. The same cold presence in the corner, the same whisper. You shouldn't be here. I've never returned. I never will. And if you ever see a faded neon sign reading Midnight in the middle of nowhere in New Mexico, do yourself a favor, don't stop. Just drive past. So guys, see you in the next video with a banger.